Hello and welcome into the RotoWire esports show. I am Andrew Laird, joined as always by Ethan Sexton today to talk about Friday's 4-game LPL LCK slate. Last 4-game before we get a few 5-game slates, which are just going to feel massive after those dumb 2-gamers that we have to keep playing. We were just talking very briefly about the slate today. Double support, always fun to win that way. I feel like I get robbed of creativity when like a double support of the two biggest favorites wins, because like it's just like that's easy. I don't want this to be easy. It was so easy I didn't do it.
Yeah, right. Confession, I actually played the two supports today, but I got the captain wrong, so karma got me because I played two supports, but played the wrong one in the captain spot. But yeah, it was funny because it was actually a fairly unique way to go. So the tournament that I was in, only two people had Ming captain double support lineup with 4 RNG and a T1 team slot one-off, which was, I'm not 100% sure why they went that route, because they could have played either Damwon or RNG team slot, but no big deal. It worked for them.
That's why they did it.
So surprisingly, it wasn't that chalky actually, which is a little bit surprising. But yeah, that was the winner. The supports, Ming and Barrel, both kind of crushed it, especially Ming. So yeah, it is what it is. I think it was the nature of the slate, because even though T1 were lumped in with as a big favorite with those other two teams, we know that T1's lineup situation isn't safe like Damwon's or RNG's. So I think maybe that pushed. That's why people kind of got pushed onto the just going for the double support with the two biggest favorites and the two safest teams option today.
It did feel a little sloppy, like you knew which teams you wanted. And so, double support's the way it worked. I was going to say, the T1 one-off, I feel like is something we've spoken about previously, that like if you think that T1 wins and you don't want to deal with the lineup issues, I mean, they were the first game of the slate, but if you didn't want to stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast, just take the team slot, because the team slot cannot be benched.
Yep, yeah, for sure. So maybe that's why people landed there. Whatever. The slate's over. The double support is the winner, and we see that sometimes. So, and we
live another day here. So Friday's slate is another 4-gamer. We have two gigantic favorites: Gen G against Fredit Brion, JDG against Thunder Talk, and then EDG's favorite against Invictus. Less slightly is KT against Afrika. So we were talking yesterday about how everything lined up perfectly for RNG, and they crushed.
Yep.
It seems that everything lines up perfectly for JDG on this slate.
Yeah, I agree. So we've got, Gen G and JDG are going to be the two, two safest teams on tomorrow's slate, right? They've got the best matchups. They're two of the better teams in their respective leagues, and they're playing two of the worst teams in their leagues. So yeah, things are lining up pretty good for both those teams, honestly. The only like today we had RNG and Damwon, who are a little bit better about pushing the pace and having more explosive games. So the only real hesitation with a Gen G or a JDG is just they don't always play at the highest paces. They just kind of roll over teams with superior macro play and don't always need to scrap it out to win, especially against these bottom-dwelling teams. So that would give me a little bit of pause about using both those teams, but they're by far the two safest teams on the slate. You're probably looking at them pretty safe bets to get sweeps as well. So I wouldn't have too much hesitation with using them,
I think what jumped out to me was just looking at the team stats. Thunder Talk, 15 deaths per game.
Yep.
So it's almost like JDG. So JDG's fourth in kills per game on the slate, at least. They've played the fewest games, but so they're fourth there. But the Thunder Talk deaths are just so much higher than everybody else that made me a little optimistic about it. That being said, I have to believe that the winner of EDG IG is the highest scoring team on the slate.
I think so too. That's where I would lean anyway. But before we really get into that series, I think KT and Afrika has some perspective upside as well because both of those teams give up a lot of kills. So they're both over 300 kills on the year, 300 deaths I should say on the year, and then KT's got KT is tied for the same amount of kills as Gen G with only one more game played. So that series could be kind of a messy one too, where it has some decent upside. But yeah, that IG EDG is the marquee matchup on tomorrow's slate. And I will say for the slate overall, I've been dabbling in cash on certain slates when I have a really strong feeling about chalk, basically. So today with RNG and Damwon, and then on yesterday's slate as well, I played cash, but I don't feel so good about this slate for cash because you do have two safe teams in Gen G and JDG, but those could be the two lowest scoring series on the slate as well. So if you play them and then you're not really getting the point totals that you want, it's not going to work out for cash. So I think this is more of a GPP slate. So the marquee matchups at EDG IG series, and IG, we've talked about them many times on slates, right? They, as an underdog, they have strong upside always because they can beat anyone, but their problem is they are usually lacking that consistency that we really like to see. Whereas EDG have upside, and they've been extremely consistent this year. I mean, they're still undefeated, 8-0. I think overall they're a better lineup top to bottom than IG. It's just IG when they're on can beat anyone and are one of the best teams in the world when they're on. But when they're not on, they're just one of the most frustrating teams to use. So I think people should take a stand on that series and try to build out your long stacks from that one. It feels like the winner of that one's going to be the highest point scorer on the slate. But you just really got to decide which way you want to go.
So I'm glad you brought up KT and Afrika because so I'm going through and I'm like, all right, Gen G and JDG are the huge favorites. People will build, the double support lineups or whatever they have to get them in. Or at least they're going to try to get both those teams in. And I'm looking and I'm just like, these other two series could just be really explosive. I was really surprised at how EDG isn't a not significantly bigger favorite, but they're not, aren't they much better than Invictus Gaming? Or the standings just kind of not reflective? I generally, when you have an 8-0 team and a 4-4 team, EDG has a 65% implied win total. JDG and Gen G are over 90. And it's that, KT's at 59. So it's basically a 6 percentage point difference between what they think KT will do against Afrika versus what EDG will do against Invictus Gaming. Isn't just as simply that IG can show up and they just don't want to get burned?
Yeah, I think it's just they're paying some respect to the team IG can be on any given day. So I think it's just more of that, where Gen G and JDG have these, on paper, very easy matchups. This one's quite a bit trickier for EDG, despite the fact that EDG is the only undefeated team in the major 4 regions, right? So I think it's mostly just a respect thing for IG and respecting the fact that if they show up and their heads are on straight, they can take down this series, right? So I think that's more or less where it is. So it kind of plays both ways because then you can get a little bit of salary savings on EDG. You get $600 going from Yagao to Scout, or a couple other roles are like that as well. So you do get a little bit of salary savings for EDG as the best team, at least record-wise, on this slate in that regard. But it's just the safety of those other two series isn't there in this IG EDG matchup.
I think from a tournament perspective, I completely agree with you. I think this is a great GPP slate. I almost feel like you can treat it, and it sounds crazy to think this. I think you can treat it like a 2-game slate and try to basically forget about the two huge favorites, throw off Gen G and JDG, and just hope that they steamroll Fred Brian and Thunder Talk, but with few kills, and just hope that the other two just go off. And the benefit is that because we have those huge favorites, they're going to be the more expensive ones. So I believe you can get carry captains with all four combinations of the other teams, EDG, IG, KT, and AF. So it's like, I think I might just kind of multi-enter that way and just really hope that JDG doesn't absolutely smash Thunder Talk and they end up, I mean, it's possible that they do and you can still cash, but like you need JDG and Gen G to get, 12 to 15 kills in their 2 wins, and that's it.
Yeah, and I think there's a pretty good possibility that they just end with low to mid-teens kill totals, and then you got to factor in the games not played bonus. But those later 2 series that we're talking about, those could be sweeps as well. Even though we think they're going to be a little closer, they could still be sweeps, but they could have kill totals pushing 2 or above 20 kills per game, right? So in that sense, we're not ruling out the possibility of sweeps for those series, but we also think that those series are going to end. Whoever wins is going to have higher kill totals than a Gen G or a JDG, I think. So, I mean, for me, the upside is in the late series for sure, but the safety is in the first 2 series.
Right. Do you have a lean on EDG versus Invictus?
I think that EDG deserve me saying that they're going to win. Maybe I shouldn't put it that way because now it could be like a jinx or something. But I think they deserve the respect to people should think that they're going to win that series. I mean, they're 8-0. They've looked incredible in every matchup. Really, they haven't really looked bad at all this year. They've dropped a couple games here or there, only 2 on the entire season, right? But they really haven't looked bad in any series, whereas IG have looked bad. They've also looked great. I think we got to give the edge to EDG still, which isn't really surprising as the undefeated team. And to me, it comes down to a little bit of bot lane difference, I think. So Puff is in for IG, and Puff was all right last year. He was pretty solid for them as the starter last year. This is his first start this year. They've had a few weeks off to integrate him back into the team, so I wouldn't really worry about him being like rusty or anything like that. So he's not a bad player, and IG's bot lane isn't bad by any stretch of the imagination, but Viper and Mako have been the best bot lane in the LPL this season. Yeah. And Viper has just come over from Korea and been awesome. So it's really, that's like the edge in the matchup that I'm looking at. Is that EDG's bot lane is just, I think, the best in the league right now, and that's going to give them an edge there. Whereas, like Scout and Rookie have played each other tons of times. They're both highly competitive mid laners, so there's not really like a huge gap there. Same with the Shy and Flandre. They've played each other a ton of times. Not a huge gap there. And then the jungle is like 2 younger players, and there's just not really a huge gap there either, in my opinion. So I think the biggest gap in that series comes from the bottom lane. And I think that might be enough to give EDG the edge tomorrow.
I'm going to play it completely dumb. Dumbly is not a word, but the dumb way to look at this is to go with the narrative that Invictus surprise us when we don't expect them to win. Yep. However, because they are not bigger underdogs, that there's this expectation that maybe they win, and that's when they lose.
Yeah.
Right? It's dumb.
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
it's dumb.
Mean, usually it's like when we really want to put our full trust in IG, that's when they disappoint us, right? So I don't know. It's like a risk versus reward kind of thing, because they could certainly win this series. I think I'm definitely going to have an IG lineup, but I wonder, to your point, if like they'll be a little bit popular on this slate, despite the fact that they're playing, the best team in China so far. I wonder if they'll be a little more owned than we think. I could definitely see that, just because people know about their upside, right? And they know that they can beat anyone on a given day. So, I mean, it's that risk versus reward, what people got to kind of figure out, right?
I just think they're getting a little too much respect against, or EDG's getting disrespected. That's how I like. I don't think it should be as close as it will end up being. But anyway,
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair too. I mean, yeah, it's you've got an 8-0 team and against a 4-4 team, like you said earlier, and usually we'd see a much bigger discrepancy there.
right.
But yeah, I think playing in maybe it's just bias, right? Because we know how good IG can be, but maybe that's what's kind of pushing me into the mindset of, well, IG should get a little bit of respect. But yeah, I could see it both ways for sure. I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, I almost feel like it's priced as if it's priced for IG's ceiling and EDG's average to below average.
Right.
But like you're pricing a below average undefeated team in the best league in the world. So anyway,
Yep.
I'll ask the same question. You have a lean on KT in Afrika?
I think KT.
Okay. They have a new mid laner, right?
It's hard to call because, like, I'm not excited about either roster really, but I think I'm a little more excited about KT's. I think Hybrid's been really good all split as the main carry for that team, and we talked about it last time they were on a slate. This Gideon guy, rookie, highly touted prospect.
Yep.
And then I coming into the season, I thought UCal was the piece that they were going to build around, but Dove has come in and played pretty well for him.
Yep.
So I think KT just have a better lineup top to bottom. I say this every time Afrika's on the slate about not being a fan of fly and bang at this point in their careers. So I'm definitely leaning KT there. I like their chances to win that series for sure. But wouldn't be surprised no matter which way it went.
Yeah.
It's just one of those kind of series. But I'm definitely leaning KT for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. Is it a magical fretted Brion day?
No, but I would say that on every slate, right? Like I for sure. Like they're always in our. They're like it kind of sucks that they beat Damwon because now they're always in our like consciousness of that one humongous upset, right? Whereas if they had never won that series, we would just not even think about them at all, right? So it's almost like a burden in that way. But I can't see them winning, but crazier things have happened, as we say, right? So
what I think is weird about this slate is that I don't think you're gaining that much if you play Thunder Talk or Fretted Brion. Like, I don't think they score that well if they win, and I don't think JDG or Genji are going to be like so popular that getting the leverage if they lose because the other two series are enough. Like, if it's a 2-game slate, then it makes a little more sense, but I mean, if it was a 2-game slate without the 2 late games, then we'd all just play JDG, Genji, double support anyway. But
right.
I don't know. It just doesn't seem like the risk just seems to outweigh the reward on Thunder Talk and Fretted Brion. Simple as that.
Yeah, I just don't see the upside there. Like, I'd rather play the underdogs in the other 2 series if I'm playing underdogs. And I don't think you need the complete salary savings that you get from a Thunder Talk or a Fretted Brion tomorrow to make competitive lineups with an underdog. So yeah, just the upside does not feel like it's there with those teams, especially in these matchups.
Yeah, totally agree. All right. If you guys have enjoyed the video, if you could please hit the like button below. Feel free to subscribe for all of the RotoWire videos that comes out with a bunch of sports that we cover, including baseball, hockey, basketball. You'll see them down below. If you'd like to try out RotoWire, a RotoWire subscription, you can get one for free for 10 days at rotowire.com/pod. That's POD. That gives you access to all the sports that we cover, as well as our subscriber Discord chat. So check that out. Ethan, thank you for that, and good luck on Friday.
All right, same to you. Talk to you tomorrow.